Okay, hello guys. Axel the Reballer. Another episode of Podchip BGA, the show dedicated to BGA rework and reballing, reflow, and it's a little show that we started not so long ago, and I think we're episode 4. And today I invited my friend Marc from Belgium. Hello, Marc.
Hi, Lotfi.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Ah, great. It's been a while since we haven't talked. I remember we used to be on team chat and talking all the time, TeamSpeak, and it's just been really busy lately. And it's I'm glad you're back, and we're gonna learn a few things from you and a few tips, and it's great. How you been lately?
Oh, fine, thanks. Been busy, yeah. Been busy like
Busy?
you, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Busy is good. Busy with BGA stuff or with other stuff or what stuff?
BGA stuff, repairing, fixing PCs, yeah. Stuff like you do, eh?
Great. So tell me, Marc, how did you get to BGA?
You want the whole story or just
the whole? Yeah, the whole thing.
No, the whole story is just.
Well,
I started out with, like most maybe, with computers. In my case, it's a long time ago. It started with the Atari VCS 2600.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like way back in early 90s?
No, 78, 79.
70. Wow, Atari, the first one.
The first one.
Oh man, that's so you. I remember now. You hacked that thing.
Well, hacking, yeah, kind of. Not really hacking, maybe, but I bought it, I tested it, it worked, and I opened it to see what was inside.
What were you doing back then? Were you like a technician?
I studied electronics.
Electronics. So you studied
at that time, yes.
Oh, so you went to university and studied electronics and
high school.
High school,
yeah,
in Belgium.
In Belgium, yeah.
Oh wow! And is there like something specific, like a? I mean, I don't know because I've never been to university. I never studied circuitry, as I just do repairs. I've learned on my own. I've actually done film, but what field?
It wasn't electronics in general, but they were starting out with digital techniques, etc. And well, one of our projects was building the junior microcomputer from Elector. It was only Dutch then, I think it called Electuur, and it was a junior computer. It was only a hex display with a 6502 processor and a keyboard, a hexadecimal keyboard, and we had to do some subtracting, adding numbers, etc. Had to program it purely in machine language.
Wow, from back then. Well,
yeah,
it's like
from
vintage.
Yeah, but that's long ago. Most I forgot because later on I went to another profession. So lost lots of the theoretical knowledge, but it still helped me out often by repairing things, etc. Because you learn that way of thinking, and you approach things otherwise like other people do sometimes.
Wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. I mean, I think the very first ever console I played with was the Nintendo 64. That's what I actually caught up with. Obviously, there's a difference in age. You're much older than I am, but not much. Well, you're a bit older than I am, and wow, hacking what have you done with the Atari, the first Atari?
What we did was see what is it, what's in it, how does it work, what is a game computer, eh? And so we opened the thing and we opened the cartridges and it's only a ROM or a PROM. Maybe we can program that ourselves. So we made cards for it for ourselves, and then we had some EPROMs lying around and we programmed the games in it. So it was cheaper for us to play them. Right. Of course, it was the first way of validating copyright, of course.
Oh yeah, back then.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it wasn't as tough as it is now.
No, it wasn't as tough because
especially I think especially with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox. I mean, they've done every single way possible make sure that thing doesn't get hacked, that you can't play copied games on it, and so it's a lot tougher now, I'm sure.
Yeah, It's a lot of difference. I follow that from a sideline more now. I don't hack anymore because I've never been a hacker myself. It was purely of interest. How does it work? What can I do myself? I never intention to hack, but if you do that, there is some hacking involved because you have to understand what it is, what it does, how it works. You have to know how to read EEPROMs. You have to know how to program them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because the very early gaming systems, they used to use like a tape cassette, like the audio ones.
Yeah, but that was more the home computers, like the VIC-20, Commodore 64.
So that wasn't digital, was it? That was just reading film, data in the film. I just don't understand how can it read the data on the film? The magnetic.
It was cassette tapes mostly. Yeah?
Cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the games were stored there.
Yeah. But in theory, it's only you had beeps on it, and the beeps defined if it was a 0 or a 1.
Huh. But I don't understand that. For example, on a chip or data changes because the game change and you are in, especially in a game, you're not, it's not a fixed mode. You are changing things. You're turning right or turning left. But on a cassette tape, it's pre-registered. So I don't understand how it.
No. The cassette it loads the program in the RAM memory. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
So there is a RAM memory. Okay, so there is a memory chip in the Commodore itself. I was always thinking that no, it's playing everything, it's reading everything and registering everything into the tape.
No. If you talk about games were loaded from the tape or from ROM into memory, and then executed from there. Eh?
Oh, that's interesting. Now that makes it a lot more clearer for me.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you done? So from the so you were doing this as a living, as modifying the game consoles back then, or what did you do, or just for fun, and you were doing like a full-time job?
Was for fun. And then the next step was the ColecoVision. Sold my Atari, got myself a ColecoVision because it was promised by CBS at the time that it would be expandable to a full computer. It had pretty nice specs for the time being. But then, the video games crash came. They didn't brought out the expansion modules, etc. And then came the Commodore 64. So then I went to that. Still out of interest, hobby more. But then I started hacking the 64, like putting in extra kernels, making cartridges for it with some programs, so I didn't have to load them up because tape loading was very slow. And then I made a memory module or a ROM pack with some programs in it, and I could just put it in the back of the Commodore in the ROM port, reset the system, and I got the programs available, ready to run.
So you converted it into a computer, basically?
Yeah.
Kind of. Wow, that's awesome. Back then. So how was it back then in that time? Was it like as popular as it is now with how people modify Xboxes and consoles and PS3s? Was it as, because now I think in the modern time what made it really popular between like very widespread is the forums, is the internet. But back then I suppose it wasn't that you guys didn't have the internet.
No, we didn't have the internet.
So how did you guys communicate with each other? How did you
post, and we went to meetings often, very often. It was something of exchange meetings. We got something new, the others got something new. It was like a healthy competition.
Like conventions.
A healthy conventions and a healthy competitions. Show them what you got, what did you hack, what did you crack, what did you do.
Damn, that's really fun.
I had a Commodore 64, I think about 8-9 buttons on the back and one turning knob, and I had about 6 different kernels in it. I had a ROM bank in it with 32 kilobyte ROMs.
What was it originally?
Internal memory was 64 kilobyte. And then you had one kernel ROM of 8 kilobyte, and the ROM banks I built in. They were not original, they were not in there. It was just a PCB with 6 ROM sockets, and I put ROMs in it with programs, and with the switches I could switch and then could use my programs, so I didn't have to load them.
So, I mean, of course, for you, because you actually you can read circuits, right? And you understand how circuits work, at least for the Commodore back then.
Yeah, at that time
it was fairly simple.
Yeah, at that time it was no problem.
And you were soldering it yourself and taking bits. And
I started repairing them. I started repairing them for shops, etc. That kind of things. It was a kind of a side shop. It became it became a side shop more and more because I was repairing them for people. Then shops got a word that I did repair them, etc. So they called me, hey, do you want to do repairs for us? And that got me started.
Yeah, the word spread. That's great, because you were doing something entirely different from most people. So it was. That's the thing. That's the thing. Unique thing about BGA rework is not many people do it. So you get a lot of calls because they need you. Yeah. You're the only guy maybe in the town or the country or the city.
Well, yes. I wish it was, but it's still, well, I think it's a bit weird here. People tend, repairing, I don't know. Mostly they just buy new. Maybe the crisis, I notice it now, people start tending to go to repairs more and more. But it's not like it used to be. I had a lot of more work with the Commodore 64, with the Amiga, with the Ataris. But those computers were much more costly that time. Eh?
Plus, it was a new thing.
It was a new thing.
It wasn't something like now. It's like Xbox. Oh, just go and grab a new one. It's probably cheaper and better to get a new one than fix it. It's widespread. But back then it was a new thing. So it's wow to have this thing at home. I mean, I remember when I first got a Nintendo, I just couldn't let it go. It was just all day on it. I mean, it's like entirely different. They were obviously a lot more. Were they as affordable as how Xbox and PS3 are now, I suppose?
Well, at that time you paid about the same money now, I think. So, but you got a lot of lesser power.
Yeah, so maybe, for example, the PS3 in UK is about, like if you get the whole bundle and everything, you're paying about £300. So that's about 30% wages of like an average job.
I think the Atari 2600 when it came out was about 250. 250 euros.
And people were getting paid how much on average back then?
Oh man, so long ago I wasn't even working. I wasn't even working then.
But I bet games were expensive.
Games were expensive that time too.
I knew that. The tapes and the cassettes.
They
were a lot.
Especially on the Atari, it were the ROM modules. They were very expensive.
And they had, but the thingy with the Atari is they had a lot more variety than all the other competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching vintage YouTube videos of Atari adverts, and they had like tons and tons. The baseball thing, the tennis thing.
Yeah, but
they had this video where they stacked all their games. They're like a mountain of them.
Yeah, but they had so many games and so many were rubbish.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the Atari wasn't powerful, eh? No, it wasn't powerful at all. But for that time,
it had the joysticks. I remember it had the joysticks. Yeah, I don't know whether it was the first one to do that.
Yeah, the wacky joysticks.
Those were the.
You got cramps from them.
It's true. Yeah. And it had that wooden finish. So I remember the Atari. Actually, for you guys, it was the 80s, but I was in Algeria, and I remember the early 90s, for us, the Atari, the one with the wooden finish, was, I think it just got to us, to Algeria, in the early 90s. So we always get games like consoles, always like 5 years late. So for you guys, it might have been the mid-80s or whatever, 70s. The early 90s, that was when we got the Atari, so it depends.
In the early 90s it was, or late 80s it was the Amiga. I went from the Atari to the ColecoVision, then the Commodore 64, Atari ST, Commodore Amiga. I skipped the PC until the 386. And then it was PC. From then on I didn't have anything else.
Right. But I do remember, sorry, were you?
Yeah, on the Amiga and the Ataris I made external disk drives, memory expansions, sound digitizers, etc. And I sold them. That's what I did on those systems.
Memory expansions, like you would like ROM chips. You would solder them into
RAM. Yeah, I made a PCB and soldered RAMs on it, 512 kilobytes of RAM, to make 1 megabyte from an Amiga 500. Then I had a frame with, I think, 5 PCBs on top and 5 on bottom, or 6 or 7 or something. I forgot. It's been too long. And every PCB had about 700 solder points.
Don't tell me you done them by hand.
I did them by hand.
Oh my god!
All of them.
Yeah, that's like
all of them.
Yeah, how long it took you then?
Oh, I could do it pretty fast. The first took a while because I just put them on the table. But then I got a frame and I could do 12 or 14 at once. And that's the time I learned myself drag soldering. So instead of touching everyone tip by tip, I was searching what's a good way to solder, and I learned about flux that day and about the chemical and how the chemical process was involved. So I started calling around, searching, and I could buy some flux from a firm.
Well, from books, I guess, because I don't think online it wasn't your research and how you learned about the flux and stuff.
Yeah, not out of books. I started calling firms that sold soldering materials. And also on school we learned about flux. We heard about flux on school, so I knew it existed, and I knew it was the way to improve it. Now most solder wire has flux inside, but if you want to solder fast and good, you need a little bit extra. So I started searching for it.
Yeah.
And then I bought myself the first soldering station. That was a Weller, but at least it had controlled temperature. And then I started practicing. Add some extra flux. Then practiced with different thickness of wires, and then I could solder. I put a wire against a chip and just drag my tip from top to below, and it was soldered perfectly.
Because of the flux, it does the work for you.
The flux helped, and then the setting of the temperature and the speed you did the soldering, and you saw them flew like it was like it almost looked like machine soldering.
Awesome. I wish actually I didn't find out about flux until I started the researching about rework. First time I used flux was when I bought my first Puhuti machine and received the flux with it. Then I learned what flux does. I wish I learned about it before, because I was doing DC sockets before on laptops replacement. It was just a pain to do them without flux. Yeah. And wow, I mean, just flux, you just can't live without it.
It's kind of magic, eh?
It's still even for me, even today, I'm like, wow, it's just incredible what it does for you. It takes the solder where you want it. It just does everything. It doesn't let the solder stick to, because that's the trouble you have. You solder something, and especially if you're soldering a QFN chip or a crab chip. I call them crab chips, or like a BIOS chip, and you have the legs are very near each other, and you get solder stuck on between the two. So how do you take it off? Put a little flux, and put your soldering iron on top, and does the work for you. It also obviously has a lot of other goodies. It protects from oxidization. What else does it do? The flux. It's important for the running a profile. It prevents popcorning. There's a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, flux doesn't prevent popcorning.
I'm not sure if it has negatives, though. It does have negatives.
Yeah, well, you always get a residue, and depending what flux you use, that might be harmless, a bit more harmless, or very harmless. When we started out, it was the rosin flux, and well, if you left that on a PCB, oh boy, after a year or two,
no way,
completely oxidated, the copper eaten away. Yeah, because rosin is very acid. It's an acid.
We now use no clean. So does that mean you guys didn't have no clean back then?
Back then, no clean didn't exist. It was always clean.
So you had to clean it before and after?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, not before, because my PCBs were already made in a factory and tinned. So I started out with making my own, and then I had bare copper traces. and solder points. So before I soldered, I already tinned them myself. I used the solder lids, the desolder braid. I put some solder on it, and then I put flux on the PCB, and I just went over with my soldering iron over the PCB, touching the desolder wick, and so I tinned the PCBs. But then later on, I let them made in a PCB factory, and they were tinned already.
Awesome. And what methods were you using to make the PCB? I know there's the film method. There's different types of methods, right? To do
the first method was using the chalk paper. How do you call it in English? Chalk paper. It's a thick paper, a bit blurry. But light goes through.
Right. Light goes through it. I think I know what. Yeah, I think I know.
It's what the technician used to draw.
Yeah.
That were the first, and then we went to a shop and we put them on it, and then we put it in an ultraviolet lightning system.
Light,
light, and then it got developed in an acid, and so we etched away what the copper that wasn't needed.
Etching, that's the etch. Yeah. So you had the, so you draw the circuit first yourself.
Yep.
Now, so do you create the circuit, or it's already created from you, the plan? The plan
both. Sometimes it was from a magazine, and then we could use the layout in the magazine. Sometimes we added some stuff to it, and we just took the drawing, made a copy of it, and expanded it with our extra stuff on it. And sometimes we designed something ourselves, and then did it from scratch.
Do you still make PCBs now? Do you like some PCBs?
No, not anymore.
No.
However, maybe I'm gonna make something in a few months or a few weeks even, but it won't be a PCB, but it will be in that area to make reballing easier.
Yeah,
maybe.
Damn. So after that, that was the era of after the era of the Commodore. Of course, there was the Nintendo, and then we went 3D, where we got the first 3D Dreamcast, the PS3, the PS1. Yeah. I don't know whether there were any common problems with those. They were just
no.
There weren't any like common problems like the Red Ring of Death that we have now.
No.
Back then. But it was still more of lots of moddings was happening on the PS1. I remember when I got my PS1, first thing I did was took it to a console shop and to have it chipped.
Yeah.
So I could play copied games, because that's what we do in Algeria. We don't have you can't even buy genuine games, so you have to have it chipped. And I don't know, that was easy, wasn't it?
It was easy. Yes, it was pretty easy.
And then came the era of the Xbox, and so what were you doing during the era of PS1 and Xbox One?
Well, it's not allowed to say.
Okay. Oh,
no, but the regular stuff like you just told, chipping and repairing them. I also repaired PS1s, Xboxes. Not as much, but they hardly broke. But some did go down. But it was mostly lenses of the optical drives.
Yeah. Were you doing computers back then? Fixing computers
yes.
and
I've always been more into computers than in consoles.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Building them as well, selling them, custom made.
Yeah. Because after drawing on the paper, the next step was, of course, drawing on a PC. Yeah. Bought myself a schematic and a PCB package, and then I designed the schematics on the computer, and then
that's the thing.
Exported data to the PCB software, and then I made it, and then printed out. At first it was printing out on paper, but I printed them out on 2 or 4 times larger. Then it went to the factory, and they made a film of it, and they resized it to a 1:1 scale. And then later on I knew more about Gerber, etc., or PostScript, and then I went to a layout shop for desktop publishing, and they had from those films. epoxy films or something, and they don't stretch. They are temperature resistant. They always keep the same size. And then they made those films for me, so I could send that to the manufacturer to make prototypes. But if you do it, yeah, and then they made prototype PCBs and then send them back, and then I test.
But you're one guy. How can a manufacturer even talk to you? You're one guy.
Oh, why should that be a problem?
I mean, it's a manufacturer. They have time to do something for you, for a single guy.
If I want 500 PCBs, why not?
Oh, wow! I never. That's wow. That's great. You manufactured there in Belgium?
Yeah, I was in Belgium. Yeah, the whole world changed now with the internet. Eh? But at that time, if you had to do all by post, etc., send your designs to China, where would you send them to? No, it was local. And I often went to visit that guy where I let most of my PCBs made, because we came. Well, friends is a big word, maybe, but we got acquainted to each other, and it was always nice to pop in personally.
Awesome! Wow. Yeah. And I suppose they were fairly simple things. They didn't have any BGAs or processors.
Oh man, I made a design with some friends of Holland. We were with 3. In fact, we made one of the first copy cards for the SNES and the Atari, and the Sega 16-bit. Only thing is, I used flash memory that time. Flash ROMs. Wait, what was it? I forgot the exact name. But it were erasable EPROMs.
Okay.
And I got prototypes from Intel. Didn't have to pay them. We made a design. Only disadvantage was you needed an Amiga to program it. So we loaded the game on an Amiga disk. Then we put the cartridge in the Amiga. Then we programmed the cartridge with the game, and then we could play it in a SNES or in an Atari.
Wow! On 2 different platforms.
Yep. It had the connector on both sides. The edge was on both sides. One side was SNES, and the other side was Sega. And the next step would be, and I already had the parts for it, make a disk drive interface, and then make a case with a connector on it. You could put the cartridge in, put a floppy in it, and then load the cartridge, load the data on the floppy to the cartridge. Then I started asking around for my when they could deliver my chips and for the pricing. And there was a 2 years waiting time for the chips, and 6 months later the Chinese came with a copy system.
The Chinese. It has to be the Chinese.
But in that days we were using PAL, so PLD's programmable logic already. So instead of using 6 or 7 chips, we wrote a program to program 1 chip to do the interfacing between data bus and connectors and.
That's very interesting. I mean, it must have been a lot of fun.
We learned a lot of it from it. And
has it changed now? I mean, of course. Has it changed? Like, not in a way. Of course, it changed power-wise, a lot faster, a lot better. But it's still the same concept, isn't it?
The concept is still the same. Like if you design something now and you want a PCB, you just mail a file and you get your PCBs at home.
That's it, yeah. That's the thing now. I think there are all these softwares I learned about that you don't even have to think. I mean, you can correct me on this, but you don't have to know how circuits work. The software, you say, I want this processor here, I want this chip here, and then the software does the rest.
It's not that easy. Not that easy. So I don't do this anymore. But if you make design, you have to define what you want it to do and how it will work. And the software might help you in placing the components to make it easier to route your print. Because
so it will. So for example, it will tell you, okay, between this and this, you need 4 capacitors, and you need the voltage regulator here.
No,
you have to tell him.
No, that's something you have to know.
That's
something you have to know. No.
Because I was thinking of downloading those softwares one day and tried, because thinking that you don't need to know that, you just. So that's still the way then.
No, you still have to know about electronics. You have to have the knowledge, and you have to know what to do and how to design and yeah. But the PCB software package can help you in creating better PCBs. I talk about the more advanced packets. No experience with them, but I know what they do. If you have address lines and data lines, if one is short and another is long, you get timing difference. So they should be all should be equal in length. So, and that's something the computer can calculate for you.
Right.
And
So
that's why you sometimes see so weird patterns like waves, sinus waves, or block waves or something on a PCB. They say, hey, why are they like this? That's mostly to make them as long, equally in length.
And with the Ataris, were they through-hole technology or SMD?
That was through-hole. Even the Amiga was fully through-hole. First PCs were through-hole. I remember building PCs with Intel motherboards, and after 3 to 6 months they all broke down. But it was warranty, so okay, I could send them in and got new PCBs. But I was so fed up with it, I started searching. It was just a voltage regulator, and it hadn't the cooling on it. So I called the technical support, said, look, I'm having this problem. If I have to send it in, it costs me money. It's easier for me to fix them myself, but I don't want to lose warranty. And so then that day it was easy. It was just a voltage regulator. It was through hole. It was big. It was large. So I desoldered it. I bought a bit more powerful versions. I bought a cooling body to mount on it. I put it on, and it never broke down again.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I see that domain. Myself doing like caps, caps on PCs, and I would they were, especially if it's a not your custom PC motherboard, your manufacturer default motherboard, whether it's HP or Dell, and the caps will always blow up. Even now, after like a couple of years, and then I put those supposedly better Japanese caps, and that fixes the issue for a lot longer.
Sometimes repair systems are more stable than original ones.
Yeah, that's true. Because I would be putting Japanese caps, and they are higher quality and last longer than.
And that's the way you should do it, because why does it break? Because they use cheap caps, and if you just use better caps, it might even It's just
that's what I tell my customers. I don't build that much. I mean, I don't sell that much PCs custom made. But when they come here, I said to them, listen, I really can't compete in price when it comes to with the manufacturer, with the OEM PC. What matters is the quality.
You can compete in quality, and that's what I do. If I get a remark from, hey, but I can get it cheaper there, then I say, okay, sorry, go there.
Yeah.
I want quality. I have people coming back for the 5th, 6th PC. I mean, that tells me something. And instead of arguing about the price, they just give me a budget. They say, I want a PC to do this. I said, sorry for that budget.
I can't. Yeah.
You can't get it on that budget. Then they say, okay, what do I need? What is the budget? And they just believe me, and they're always pleased, because if you build a quality PC, it'll last a long time. And it will perform as they want.
Yeah.
Especially with the modern PCs now, where they are so powerful.
Oh yeah.
I come from the era where you had to buy a new PC every year. Oh man, that was an expensive hobby.
Because technology was changing so quick, wasn't it?
But even my previous PC, I used for about 4 or 5 years only exchanged a video card once, and this one I have now for 3 years, still the same video card. And I think it'll last another 2-3 years or so.
I'm in the same position.
Yeah.
Well, I had an i7, which the motherboard is gone because of my fault. I scratched the circuit.
Yeah.
So I am now on a quad-core PC. A quad-core. I think I bought the PC. The processor is at least 3 years old or more, and I've only changed the card. 2 years ago, like I paid £200 for a card. It's an ATI 697, which was like the highest card at the time for high end. I'm in the same position. It's really fast. I've just put an SSD drive, so it's a quad core. But if I do the benchmark, it did beat my i7.
Yeah,
because it's overclocked from a 2.66 to a 3.6. So but I think it should do me another 3 years easy.
Yeah.
I can play all the games in high settings.
I have an i7 920, and I think I'm running it on 3.8.
Ah, that's water cooled?
On air for 3 years, I think.
Yeah, but I don't. What has changed in the last 3 years is now they're on Ivy Bridge or Sandy Bridge, the platform. But it's not like a huge change, is it?
No, it's not a huge change. But the processors are more efficient, and they are faster than the first generation of i7. But if you have an i7 like mine and it runs at 3.6 or 3.8, there's no need to change. It's fast enough. Of course, if you want to play the latest games and you want every frame rate out of it, okay. But it's a waste of money in my opinion.
But back then you were saying you had to buy a computer every year because technology was really advancing every year. Memory counts back then. I remember you had like 512K memories with what were the specs of the computers?
I don't know, but I know my first PC was a 386 with 1 megabyte of RAM, or one I think. It was gigantic. I had an 80 megabyte SCSI hard drive, one of the few in Belgium. Before we got that to boot, oh man, we got gray hair from it. It had a floppy drive, and then a video card was a low res, and then a NEC multisync 3D monitor. And I paid, I have to calculate in euros if I...
1,000 maybe.
No. I think 6,000 or 7,000 euros.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that was the system I bought to design my PCBs on.
And that was like the high-end stuff.
That was
back then.
pretty high-end back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, I mean, we're lucky now. I mean, I built this thing barely 600 euro, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
if you...
But it's gone cheaper, but I'm not sure about quality. I mean, this is custom, but for regular stuff, for your regular laptops and your consoles, consoles is very mumuch a PC, isn't it? It's just a sealed PC.
Yeah.
And, it's a closed PC. That's what people don't get. They say, you're on PC, I like Xbox. I say, my PC is an Xbox. All I had to do is $20 Xbox remote, and it became an Xbox. In fact, it became 5 times better than an Xbox because it's got a graphic card and a processor. Yep.
Yeah, PCs are pretty advanced these days, and they can beat an Xbox or a PS3 in games.
Oh, yeah. So how did you, quickly before, because we're running out of time, and it's nearly... of course, we're not going to cover we haven't even got into your BGA stuff. So
you wanted the long version. You wanted the long version.
I know, but that's great because that means we still get you one more time.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not gonna because I've got to go as well, and it's quite late. But I mean, it's been an honor, Marc, to have you on my show. And I'm hoping you will come back and talk to me again, and we'll cover your BGA stuff. And I'm sure because you have a lot of experience with dark infrared, and people think that you have to go hot air, 3-point hot air, but I'm sure you can give us a whole different opinion because it's been working out great for you, hasn't it?
Yep.
So I think that's it for today's show. And guys watching on YouTube, my reballing of the dreaded HP DV6 series. Yes, not DV6000, DV6 with the ATI chip. Have you been doing the laptops DV6, Marc?
No, not many. I hardly get HPs.
Yeah.
Over here, you have the Aldi brand Medion is still pretty good. I have had some Asus. I had Fujitsu.
Oh yeah.
But not much. It's weird. I haven't seen much HP. But HP is more used in companies here.
As servers and
also the laptops. It's more. They most sold. I think they're not sold as much to private customers, more to firms, to companies, and they usually take a contract with them for support.
But you do a lot of repairs on consoles, on PSTs and
PS3, Xbox
360. Yeah. You're still getting them?
Yeah, I'm still getting them. Not as much, but it's on and off. It might be 2 months nothing, and then 3 weeks I get 15 or 20.
Oh man!
Yeah.
And people are they have to drive down to you, right? You're okay, great. Because you are working from home.
I'm working from home, yeah.
Oh, great. And so that's also the other point, because a lot of reworkers are working from home, and they always ask me about the how they do with the airflow, with the to get rid of the smoke and the smell, and because I'm sure your wife is We definitely would need some tips and tricks in how you go about that next time, not this time, and we'll be able to read emails and stuff. So I don't want to keep you too long, Marc. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for listening, and we see you next time.